everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alicia. I post new tutorials every Thursday, primarily on tumblers, but I do a bunch of other things. So when you're done watching this video, go ahead and jump back on my channel and check out some of the other fun things I've done. So this week, I'm not doing anything new. I'm just doing something fun. So I know that I've done fabric tutorials in the past, but I really fell in love with this because it looks like an acrylic pour. And I picked this up at Joanne Fabrics around Christmas time because I also got my daughter, she wanted a sewing machine. So I got like a kid-friendly sewing machine, and I'm like, let me just pick up a bunch of these like packs of fabric swatches. And in there was this one, which was really super cool. So I decided, you know what, let's just do something fun and wrap a tumbler with it, do some power wash, and just enjoy the creation. So if you're interested to see what I came up with and how this turned out, stick around and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so I am working with 20-ounce skinny straights, and this is a sublimation that I screwed up. I put the sublimation, the design, upside down, so now I think I'm just gonna cover it with this fabric. And so I am using Mod Podge to adhere this fabric, and I'm going to start by I'm going to do this in sections. So I'm going to spread some Mod Podge on there, as you can see, and then I'm going to take this fine bristle brush. It is a Wet n Wild that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to wrap this fabric. So unless it's super wrinkly, there's no need to iron out the seams. When you glue it on and pull it taut, it should take all of those creases out or whatever. But like if it's super wrinkly, I will iron it. But this piece just had some creases and it really didn't need it. So as you can see, I'm just doing a couple of sections, small sections at a time, because Mod Podge does dry pretty quick, especially when you're doing a little bit of a thinner layer. If it comes through the fabric, that is completely okay, because we are going to give the fabric 2 coats of this Mod Podge on top once this layer is dry, and that's I'm going to call it the underneath layer. So I had cut this piece. Make sure you measure your cups. My cup is like 9.6 by 8.2 or something. So I measured a piece out to be like a little bit bigger on the top and the bottom. You can measure it out exactly if you want. It's completely up to you. But I just got close with this one. I didn't do exact. And so I am just pushing, like I'm making sure that this seam gets a good coat of Mod Podge underneath and then above. And then once I'm done with that, I'm gonna let this dry for about a half an hour before I put my first coat of Mod Podge over top to dry for about an hour. So get that seam really good. Go up and down, back and forth. Make sure you get in there, because you want that seam to be nice and sealed down before you go and move any further with this cup. So here I am with the second cup, and I just hyper speed through this because it's exactly the same, so there was no need to keep it slow. All right, so here I'm putting my first coat of Mod Podge on, and I do my coats on the other cup. Now I'm going to come in. These have been drying for about an hour, and I'm going to trim these edges with a cup trimming tool. So you can pick these up on Amazon. There's a couple of different kinds. I got this one a while ago, and I'm just going to trim the fabric on the top and the bottom. Make sure you have a nice sharp blade. Go around it a couple of times. It can be kind of a pain. You have to have even pressure. Make sure that blade doesn't travel up or down, because it can do that. So you kind of like sometimes got to pull it away and then put it back on. But it'll create a nice even cut for you. And I mean, not that it really mattered like a lot, because I am going to be covering, and you're going to see in a little bit. So now I'm going to put on my second layer of Mod Podge, and this is going to be it. It's going to be 2 total layers. And while that's drying, I'm going to take some alcohol inks, and the colors I used were Tim Holtz brands, and I used this like purple and this green. I think it was Pool or Mermaid, and maybe like a fuchsia or whatever. But you can use whatever alcohol inks match whatever fabric you use. Of course, you don't have to use this fabric. I don't even know if you can find it, because it was fabric swatches, and I think, you know, when they come to like the end of a fabric roll that they don't think they can sell, they just cut it up into swatches, bind them together, and then sell them. you know, for quilting or whatever. So, but this is really cool. You can do an acrylic pour on another surface and then wrap the cup with the acrylic pour. I've seen videos doing that. I've not done it. Little Lee and Rose has one. They did an acrylic pour and then they wrapped it around a cup. It's kind of an older video. I think I remember watching it a couple of years ago. I do want to do that as an option to show, but I'm not really good at acrylic pouring. I've tried a couple of times and I've failed sort of miserably. So I haven't done that yet. So that's why I really like this fabric, because it already looks like an acrylic pour. So I'm just doing this with the alcohol inks. I am covering up the bottom and the top rim and just kind of making it look more like an extension of the fabric. In retrospect, I could have cut it closer to the top and the bottom, but the bottom is weird because it's a curvy bottom on this cup, and this is a stainless steel Depot or Hog brand cup. Both of them are. So, but Maker Flow is like that as well. The bottom kind of rounds a little bit, so your fabric can buckle. So I did come up a little bit higher, so that's why I'm kind of doing this mending thing. You know, how you want to do it is completely up to you, but this is how I did it in this video. And I have come up higher on my fabric wraps to more of the top and then sanded down and glittered the bottoms. All right, so these have been drying a couple of hours to make sure the Mod Podge is dry and the alcohol inks. And now I am going to come in with my epoxy layers. And so I am just going to do one layer of epoxy, about 15 mLs on each. I want to give it a nice good coating before I go ahead and do that Dawn Power Wash on here. So I just spread my epoxy evenly. I do use a gloved hand instead of a silicone brush or a silicone spreader because I can feel dry spots better. Sometimes it's hard to see dry spots on cups, especially when like you have a cup with a lot, like this is kind of like a busy cup. So I like to do it with my hand always. This way I can feel for dry spots to make sure it's nice and even. So I used a quick coat on that layer of epoxy. So after 3 hours, it was dry enough to come in and do my Dawn Power Wash. And so if you're not familiar with this, you just spray it on the cup and then however much you want. And then you go and take your spray paint and spray over it, and then you rinse right away. Like there's no waiting. It's a really, really neat effect that you get on there. So I first started with the white, and now I'm gonna go in with the black. And so I'll take in my Dawn Power Wash and I spray. Now the more Dawn Power Wash you have on there, the more color is gonna come through. The less you have on there, you're going to have more spray paint. So, and you know, I'm pointing out the obvious, but I just felt like I needed to say that. All right, so I'm going to let these dry for a couple hours. You want to make sure that these are nice and dry before you go ahead and start your final epoxy layers. There was a spot that I didn't like, so you can go back in and put your Dawn Power Wash on and spray again and then rinse again until you get the desired look. All right, so these have been drying a couple of hours. I'm coming in again with another, I had mixed up a little bit more than 30 mLs. I'm mixing in two different shimmer glitters. One is Ultrafine Shimmer. I've used that a lot in my prior videos. And I'm going in with electric, I think it's electric slide, which it is a white, but when you put it in epoxy, you get this purple shimmer. So I mixed both because the Ultrafine Shimmer gives a gold and then the electric slide. And if that's wrong, I will fix it. It took 2 final coats of epoxy to finish these cups. I decided not to put any names or sayings, leave it open in case somebody wants to put something on it later on. And this is it for this video. I will be back with my final remarks. Oh, don't forget to torch for bubbles after you are done with your epoxy, applying your epoxy. Using a kitchen torch helps get your bubbles out and make sure you get a nice smooth finish. Okay, so that is it for this video. I am going to be back with my final remarks. All right, these are done. I absolutely love the way they came out. So that additive of putting in the Ultrafine Shimmer mixed with It's Electric, I'm absolutely in love with this. And I don't even know if you guys can see the sparkle in here. Like, how cool is that? So which one do you like better? Do you like the white or do you like the black? I think I like the black better. But I'm interested to hear what you think about this tutorial. So if you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe, share, comment. I love to hear your feedback. Plus, all those things help my channel to grow. Don't forget to check out my Facebook group. It's a craft thing, as well as my Instagram. And then, of course, Glitter Makes It Superstars group, where they have fun giveaways every Sunday. So that is it for this week, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye.